Welcome back to Houston Life. The new school year is almost here, and if you have kids, you already probably have a million things on your list.
Oh yeah, today we're talking simple safety tips to help you and your kids feel ready, from allergies to heat stroke. CPR and safety lady Gail Gould is here with practical advice that every parent can use. Gail, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Listen, I was telling Derek about this earlier today. My nephew plays baseball, and yesterday they were outside in this ridiculous heat. They had to call the game about halfway through because kids were dropping like flies. For parents who have kids playing sports outside, this is so important.
Well, it is. And you know, heat emergencies are very common in Texas, Lauren, not only due to the heat, but also due to the humidity. You know, your body cools itself to evaporation of sweat. Well, your sweat can't evaporate in Houston because the moisture content in the air is so high. So it's very important they hydrate before they go outside.
Yes.
And I know my son was playing sports, playing tennis when he was in high school. They had to stop.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a case of heat cramps, almost heat exhaustion.
Well, and we've seen these cases, Gail. Athletes suddenly dropping on the field. It's terrifying. We've covered it here at KPRC too. Sudden cardiac arrest among young people. This is a thing. It is possible. What do we do in the event that happens? An athlete drops.
I'm so glad you asked that. You know, 1 in 300 student athletes has an undetected heart problem.
Man.
And so it's a leading cause, cardiac arrest is the leading cause of death in student athletes. So God forbid someone loses consciousness, stops breathing, you immediately start CPR. And then you bring the AED, the automatic external defibrillator, because the majority of the time, the reason that teenagers go into cardiac arrest, they were born with an abnormal arrhythmia that nobody knows about. That's why we're recommending all teens get an EKG. It's part of the sport's physical. You're supposed to get an EKG or ECG, whatever you want to call it. But some parents think, oh, he's 15, he's 16, he doesn't need it. They do need it. They absolutely do need it.
And this is something, by the way, to jump in. If I'm a parent with a student athlete, what kinds of questions should I be asking the school, the coach, in terms of their written plan for emergencies?
Well, I'm so glad you asked that too. Just last year in June of 2025, here in Texas, Senate Bill 865 was passed. It's called the Landon Payton Bill, and it was based on what happened to the 14-year-old who died at Houston Middle School 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so all Texas schools are now required to have what's called a cardiac emergency response plan, a CERP. And in that plan, there needs to be people who are designated to administer CPR. Everybody needs to know where the AED is. The AED needs to be in working order. Interestingly enough, there's not a required number of teachers or staff that need to know CPR in the school, but what they're recommending, the nurse needs to know CPR, the assistant nurse, the marching band director, the cheerleading coach, the athletic trainer, but there's no specific required number of people that need to know CPR.
That should be next on our list of laws.
Yes.
I mean, I feel like every teacher should know this skill.
Absolutely.
What's interesting, preschool daycare providers
of course
must have CPR every 2 years.
Yeah.
And they're very, child care licensing is very serious about that. Once your kid gets to grade school, middle school, high school, then, so that is a question parents need to ask, does my child's teacher know CPR? Have they been CPR trained? How many people in the school are CPR trained? Now, you know, sometimes people want to look at the emergency action plan. They're not allowed to let you look at that just for security reasons. But all Texas schools are required to have this CERP, the Cardiac Emergency Response Training Plan, and they're also required to have what's called an emergency operation plan.
Okay, I'm also looking at some of the things you brought here. I see the tourniquet, Gail, and the asthma inhaler. What are some other things that you need to be prepared for aside with the AED, aside from learning CPR? Narcan.
Yeah. This is a box of Narcan that my son came home with last year from college. They gave everyone in the college dorm a box of Narcan. All nurses carry Narcan now. Narcan, also known as naloxone, is the only thing that will reverse a life-threatening drug overdose. And nurses have used them in schools before.
Wow. My goodness.
Are there
it's
directions on, I know a lot of people are unfamiliar with Narcan.
Well,
how is it used? Is it a
It's a nasal spray.
Okay.
It's a nasal spray. So you take it out of here. And obviously, if they're unresponsive and not breathing, you give them CPR and then you use the Narcan.
Okay.
They don't wake up after, I think it's 2 to 3 minutes, you can use the second dose of Narcan. And so important.
Yes.
In fact, what's being recommended, this is amazing to me, that all parents who have children 10 years and older have a box of Narcan in their house.
Oh, man.
I know, I know,
Wow.
it's crazy. The other thing is that, there's EpiPens, and EpiPens are prescription drugs for kids who have life-threatening food allergies. So this is the one everybody knows about. But these two, most people don't know about. This is the only one my son carries with him.
Okay.
And basically to use it, it's called the AviQ, and I highly recommend
This
it.
trainer can place black ants too.
Oh, wow.
So it's
that
yeah,
fast.
it's
Talks
telling
to
you.
It talks to you. This is the newest one. This is the Neffy. And so for people who are afraid of needles, they can use this nasal spray.
their
It's been out
nostril.
about a year. Again, these are prescription drugs for people who have allergies to bee stings, ant bites, foods, medications, and boy, you got to carry it with you at all times.
Not give it to the school nurse. You carry it with
Well,
you.
you give it to the school nurse. Once your child is like 11 or 12, like 5th grade, they can start to self-carry.
Okay.
So they get a note from their doctor saying they're allowed to self-carry. So my son was in 5th grade. The nurse had one, and then he carried one in his backpack.
That's
you must
good.
have a note from the doctor.
You want it
Yeah.
accessible
Yeah.
when it's needed.
Yeah.
Hey, we got to take a quick break. Before we do, though, what are some of the signs of heat exhaustion? Because this is a thing, and you want to spot a problem before it gets life-threatening.
Well, obviously excessive sweating, redness, nausea, vomiting, cramps. Get that person inside, wrap a cool compress around their neck, give them 2 or 3 ounces of water every 15 minutes. And if you
What
don't
about
know-
cooling down here on these pressure points? So they always say put a cold compress
you
there
can do that,
too.
but you can also put it around your
neck.
neck as well. And the key is that heat emergencies happen in stages, so it's best to recognize it when you first start in heat cramps, again, which is heavy sweating, perspiration, nausea, maybe even vomiting. Get them inside. If you don't notice it there, and go into heat exhaustion, which becomes much more serious. And then the final stage of heat emergency is heat stroke.
Oh, yeah,
And
man.
that's when your body core temperature rises up to have 404 degrees Fahrenheit. But if you nip it in the bud initially,
Okay.
it doesn't have to be a life-threatening emergency.
Yeah, lots more info to come. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue our chat with Gail about what parents, teachers, and even other kids should do in a school emergency. That is next when Houston Life returns. Welcome back to Houston Life. We are back with CPR and safety lady Gail Gould. We have chatted about how to protect student athletes on the field already.
And now we're going to go over tips every parent, teacher, and student can use if something unexpected happens at school. Gail, something I didn't realize, Texas does not require every school system to employ a school nurse. Right. And many nurses have been cut due to budget cuts.
Right.
And so, first of all, that blows me away. That's staggering.
Yeah.
So who's in charge in case of an emergency? I mean, this should be a question that families would be asking.
I think it's just based, different on each different school, school to school, depends on what's happening. But yeah, some schools have nurses, some don't. But, that's just, it's based on budget cuts, you're absolutely.
So as a parent, do I go to the principal and say, hey, who's responsible in case of an emergency?
Yes.
Who does my child
Yes.
go to?
Yes, and hopefully in those cases, in those schools, the teachers are CPR trained. But I think a lot of people just assume that their child's teacher has CPR training. Again, it's
That's
not
not the
required.
case.
Yeah.
It's not required. But there are a lot more schools CPR training their teachers than they used to, but it's definitely not required. And the Senate Bill 865, what they're saying that the majority of the people that need to be trained are going to be nurses, assistant nurses, athletic trainers, marching band director, cheerleading coach, PE teacher. Those are the people who most likely are CPR trained, but there's no required number of the people that need to be CPR trained in schools.
That's crazy. I want to talk about choking because any grade level you get into, there's always a possibility of choking. Very important that everybody knows how to.
Yes, everybody needs to know how to do this. And choking relief changed, Lauren, in October of 2025. We used to just give abdominal thrusts. Now we sort of regressed 50 years. Now we're giving 5 back slaps. If that doesn't expel it, then you give 5 abdominal thrusts. So that's for anyone over the age of 1.
Over the
Back
age of 1.
slap. Wow.
So 5 hard back slaps.
Back slaps, sort of glancing blows. And if that doesn't expel it, then you do 5 abdominal thrusts.
Above the navel.
Right above the navel, almost like you're drawing the Nike swoosh. And that is the new guideline. So now choking relief is done the same all over the world.
Okay. Wow.
Okay,
Wow.
let's talk a little bit about serious bleeding. You have a tourniquet here.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Derek, all school nurses have tourniquets now.
It's horrible. I mean,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. In fact, a lot of schools, I've done some what's called Stop the Bleed training at several middle schools and high schools.
You've done it here at KPRC too.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've done it here too. And it's an 45 interactive course that teaches people how to stop life-threatening bleeding.
Right.
And so basically, yeah, all school nurses, in fact, we're recommending all first aid kits carry tourniquets now.
Okay.
You can bleed to death in as little as 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay. And I do want to mention seizures because I do find this happening more and more. I'm seeing stories about kids in every grade having seizures. What do we do in that
Well,
situation?
it depends on the type of seizure, but the most common type of seizure is going to be used to be called the grand mal seizure, and that's where someone's going to convulse. All you want to do for that person, if they're in a chair, get them on the floor and let them have the seizure. Don't restrain them, don't hold them down, don't put anything in their mouth, and let them have their seizure. The only thing you might want to do is, Lauren, is maybe protect their head with your hands, your thighs. Once they're done convulsing, well them on their side, because it's a good chance they're going to vomit.
Yes.
You don't need to diagnose why they're having a seizure. But usually it's somebody with epilepsy. It could be from a diabetic emergency. Sometimes really young children have what are called febrile seizures. And that's when their fever spikes very quickly. Again, same thing, if they convulse, let them convulse. People often worry that they ask if someone's going to swallow their tongue. It is physically impossible to swallow your tongue.
Okay.
By
Such
the way,
great information.
Gail Gould, we do want to let you know, for parents and teachers, Tuesday, August 4th at noon to 1 p.m., Gail is hosting a free virtual webinar. We're going to put the info on our website. Very important info. Gail Gould, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
As always, if you'd like to learn more safety tips, Gail, like we just said, that free virtual back-to-school safety webinar for parents, August 4th from noon to 1. We've got a link up. You can register at HoustonLife.tv.